Welcome to Octane Mobile Gaming. Welcome once again to Octane Mobile Gaming with yours truly, iOctane. I don't normally make a video on Saturdays, but I finally decided to get the deck. And the deck is really good, it's really powerful. So you got a few combinations of this deck that you can actually use. This is one of the combination that works quite well on a turn one. So this is a turn one deck because Circuit Breaker Hillary will create 4 power gem freeze on the first turn. So every free turn it will create 4 power gem freeze, but this passive becomes active on your first turn. So I've got 3 of those on the deck, which will give me approximately 12 power gem on the first turn, and I've got 5 arcane relics, which will give me power gems as well. And my main damage dealers are Bonafide Brawlers and Street Racing Frankie. Those are my 2 main damage dealer on this particular deck. This one is a turn 1 deck. On turn 2 you won't get more than probably about 12, probably about 12 power gems. So you won't do as much damage on turn 2 as turn 1. And the cooldown on the deck is quite long, so it's a turn 1 deck. So you won't want to use that if it's a long fight. However, on a longer fight, this is one of the combination you will want to use. You'll want to use 2 Circuit Breaker Frankie, Bonafide Brawler, Street Racing Frankie, and this one, Blitzkrieg Beast. This one will give you 4 power gem 4s, and if your health is above 50%, it will give you an additional 4. It will also reduce the amount of damage that you take, and it will heal as well. Plus, if a healing battle skill is used, it will create an additional 3 power gem 3s, which is not bad. So that will give you quite a bit of power gems on the board, approximately 11 power gems from just that one card. So that will increase the amount of power gems on the board, giving you greater damage output. The card itself won't do that much damage, but it does help your Bonafide Brawlers and your Street Frankie to put out quite a bit more damage. Plus, the boost from Circuit Breaker Hillary. So Circuit Breaker Hillary increases Arcane Killer attack by 200%, so I've got 2 of those, so that's 400% increase, plus the 180 from Bonafide Brawler, that's 580, plus your 140 from your Frankie, that gives you a grand total of 720% increase, which is quite significant. Really wonderful. But this one of all the decks is I think it's the best combination. It hasn't got the amount of damage increase, but the damage output is far better. Plus, in a longer battle, it performs really well because Circuit Breaker Hillary increases the Arcane Killer attack by extra 10% per 20 Arcane Killer. Your damage output will goes up the longer the battle continues, which is really good. So this combination is the one that works better for me. On the first turn, it will not put out as much damage as the one using 3 Circuit Breaker, but on the second attack it will put out a massive damage output, round about 150 trillion damage using 9 keys, which is absolutely fabulous. I've never had a deck before that could put out that amount of damage, bearing in mind that my ultimate form is only 1 pink star. It's at level 65 and it's awoken once, and putting out that amount of damage is really fabulous. I'm using, on this combination, I'm using 2 arcane relic, and I'm using 2 of the overcharge axe, which is for this particular card. And the reason why I'm using those two is for turn 1. So on turn 1, those two will produce 1 power gem each. And that's the only reason why they're there, for the turn 1 attack. Because during the slay event, most of the time, if you're going to attack someone else's boss, you will not get a turn 2 attack. You'll only get a turn 1 attack, and that's where this particular deck comes in handy. So if you're gonna tag along, this is the best deck to use if you've got the cards, because this one will put out quite a high damage on turn 1. If the boss's health is not really high, you can manage to get the 15% damage from turn 1 with this particular deck. But if the boss's health is very high, say around about 800 trillion, then you don't want to use that deck, because the fight is not gonna be just turn 1, it's actually gonna be probably turn 2. If you're lucky enough, it probably goes on for 6 turns, and if you get 2 massive attack in, I guarantee you can get the 15% using this particular combination. I would show you the deck in action. However, we've just mainly got guild bosses. That's all we've got on the board. Guild bosses after guild bosses after guild bosses after guild bosses. We spend most of our time just killing guild bosses just to get the keys, and when you've got the keys, you still have to spend your time killing guild bosses. Or you can spend the keys basically tagging bosses, which, let's see if we can find somebody else. Yeah, let's look at my card. So say someone tagged this particular boss. I know it's not a very big boss, but say somebody tagged this boss, they'll only get participation. So the Synth trophy is just 1 million. So it's pointless actually tagging most of these bosses, because the participation isn't really that good. So say you've got a boss with 100 trillion health. If you're gonna go in, you have to go in, it's all in or nothing, because you're gonna go in with 9 keys, you're only gonna get participation. It's rubbish. You need at least 15%. So using the deck with 3 circuit breaker Hillary will actually help you to get as much as possible, where you can actually get the 15% damage. Apart from getting the 15%, everything else is just negligible, especially participation. Participation is absolutely negligible. And what I find that I haven't got a lot of solo bosses on the board. They're small solo bosses. The bigger solo bosses, like your Cobalt bosses and your Radiant bosses, they're few and far between. So I'm finding that I've got a really good deck, but I'm not really doing very well in the event, because I spend 90% of the event just killing guild bosses, which is absolutely pointless. We shouldn't call it a slay event, we should just call it a guild boss event. Before, slay events were really exciting, where the bosses, you get a lot of solo bosses, a lot of other people bosses on the board. So bosses are just, they just keep coming, especially solo bosses keep coming. You keep getting like Radiant bosses, Cobalt bosses, which are solo bosses. You keep getting Radiant bosses and solo bosses, Radiant bosses and Cobalt bosses from other players coming up a lot on the board. Now, if you look, it's just, there's a lot really going on in regards to bosses that I can actually sink my teeth into and actually make some impact on the solo leaderboard. So I've been playing for the last 4 hours, and for the last 4 hours since I've been playing, I've only managed to go up 4 places on the solo leaderboard, simply because I spend most of my time just killing guild bosses. This is not only because of the keys, but it's because there's nothing else to kill on the board. So I'm just here killing guild bosses after guild bosses, the same guild bosses in and out and in and out and on and on and on and on it goes. And the slay event is just absolutely boring. I used to love slay events, but now I prefer the commander events than the slay events, because at least with commander events you've got your own bosses on the board and it's up to you what you do with them. But in the slay event, you haven't got any bosses. First, you haven't got any bosses for yourself. Second, you haven't got much bosses from other players on the board, and when you do get bosses from other players on the board. As soon as you go in, they're dead. So you might be lucky to get a turn 1 attack in. And apart from that, it's not much. It's really and truly not much. So slay events are absolutely useless. And most players in my guild don't play slay events anyway, because that's the same problem they keep having. Not much to do apart from killing guild bosses, which is it's good, but we've already got frenzy. Frenzy is it's a guild blaze. It's a guild blaze activity where the guilds rally together to actually take out the frenzy bosses. So I don't see the point of us rallying together to kill loads of frenzy bosses, and after frenzy event then we spend all the rest of the event just killing guild bosses. That one really needs to change. It's not working out, because the reason why they done it this way is to actually get the guilds to come together to play more of a guild event. But it's becoming boring, where most people log on, they see that it's only guild boss, they play for a few minutes or two, and then they get tired of killing guild bosses, and then they just say, you know what, forget the event. I've got my free support card, I've got my free card from the 5-star collection, that's it for me, I'm not playing anymore. And then you have about 2 people in the guild that actually plays, because at the moment there's only 2 of us online. Before they changed it, you used to have like 10-15 of us online. Now it's just 2 of us, or you might get a maximum of 7 of us online when there's a frenzy, and then the next 5 people just log off and that's it. So the slay event has become quite boring, simply because all we've got on our screen all the time is just guild bosses after guild bosses after guild bosses. Network needs to do something about that, because I've got a really good deck. I wasn't gonna go for the deck, but I did go for the deck because one of my guildmates said go for the deck. Octane, I've been using it, it's really powerful, it's really good. I went for it, tried out a few combinations, found these ones that actually work, and I've been using them. They're really good, really powerful, but I've only been able to use them against guild bosses, not much against solo bosses or even against other people bosses. I haven't really had the opportunity. I would really like to show you the deck in action against a solo boss, but it's not gonna happen, because I know I can play for the next 10 hours and I will not get a very high health guild boss like probably a World Eternal with 250 HP. I'm not gonna get that within the next 10 hours. I'm not gonna see it. I can play all the event and never see one of those solo bosses for myself. Probably for other people, but never for myself. And I've gone through a lot of slay events where that has happened. So that's one thing that really and truly needs to change. Because as you can see, I'm just getting rid of people's bosses that they have killed that's on my screen. And apart from that, it's just skill bosses. This video is not really about moaning, it was really about the deck. But I really and truly would have liked to showcase the deck better, but I really can't, because all I've got on my screen is just skill bosses, and they're not really high health kill bosses anyway. So let's see this one in action. Let's see if we can get 2 turns or 4 turns from this deck. 4 turn, it's more powerful than 2 turn, because you get the passive from Circuit Breaker Hillary, which gives you 4 power gem freeze, and that does increase the damage output of the deck. Plus the arcane killer intensity goes up, and that adds to the amount of damage that the deck puts out. So we've used 1 key just because we don't want to kill the boss on the first turn, and bearing in mind it's 1 key, and because it's 1 key, the damage output is not gonna reflect the true reality of the deck's damage capability. So we should get the passive right about now. There's the passive, and if we activate everything, hopefully we can see. There we go. And that's just with 1 key. With 1 key, we're putting out around about 30 trillion damage with 1 key. So imagine if that was multiplied by 9 keys. Okay, here we go. There's a bigger boss. Let's see if we can see the true damage output on this particular deck if we can get up to turn 4. However, unless you get a really high health boss, say a Whirl Eternal, and you lock it, you'll never be able to get up to turn 4. Somebody will definitely kill that boss before you get to turn 4. So we're at 46 intensity, only because this is a guild boss and there's nobody online anyway apart from myself. That's why I'm able to go up to turn 4. So let's see, passive should kick in on about now. There's a passive. Okay, so all of those are from the passive, from Hilary, and from the relics. So we'll go ahead and we activate all our cards. Got full board of power gems, swap our power gem, and you should see a true reflection of the damage output. So 76 trillion from the ultimate form, 46 and 49 from the 2 Master Collection card. And let's see the total damage output. So we have done 9 trillion damage plus 167 trillion overkill. You put that together, you've got 176 trillion damage. That's the amount of damage output this deck is putting out. And remember, I've only got a 1 pink star ultimate form for the current event, so I've got a 1 pink star bonafide brawler, and this card, this one, the beast, it's 2 pink star, but it's just contributing 1 trillion to the total damage output. So all the damage is coming from the 2 street racer Frankie and your bonafide brawlers. Those 3 cards together are generating 176 trillion damage. So it's really a powerful deck, really and truly a powerful deck. So there we go. That's all I wanted to talk about this event. That the deck is a really good deck. If you can craft the deck, do craft the deck. I was in 2 mind, but I did craft the deck, and I'm really happy that I crafted this deck. You can try out many combinations with this deck. If you've got a Circuit Breaker Hilary, you can throw that in. If you got 2, you can use 2. You can use 1, you can use 3, depending on what your objective is. If your objective is a turn 1 attack to get 15% damage, use 3 street racing Hilary. If you've only got 2 Master Collection card, you can use that as well. Use whatever you want, whatever you've got, I should say. Use whatever you got to get the result that you need. Okay, so that's all I've got for you on this video. So I'll see you again on the next video. So until then, peace and enjoy your day. Bye for now.